Have you been wanting to play 5 colors in Standard for a while, but you don't really want to play Joda? Well, this Domain deck might just be the answer to all your problems. The great thing about Domain is that once you have all 5 basic land types out, you can do a lot of powerful things. Drag to the Bottom is a very nice sweeper. Leyline Binding is one of the most effective removal spells in the format right now. Basically, it's 1 mana, get rid of anything. Then finally, Herd Migration's in here as well. Yes, the 2 mana discard's a nice effect to do some mana fixing, but it's also a very nice endgame threat, creating 5/3/3 beasts, assuming you have all 5 land types out. We have other powerful threats to threaten our opponent with as well. The 2 standouts would be Workshop Warchief, which we can actually duplicate thanks to Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and the Kami War can act as a removal spell, a discard spell, and an endgame threat too. We also run 12 Triome lands from Street of New Capenna, thanks to the fact that they have at least 3 basic land types. They're really useful for getting our domain on early. That's the deck in a nutshell, full deck breakdown at the end, but let's get into the games. Alright, first game of the day, going first, we have quite the powerful opening hand, so we'll keep this. Turn 1, Dimir. Could be Dimir, could be Esper Control, could be Esper Legends, Esper Midrange. Nothing on turn 2 tells me Esper Control. So I'm just going to play out the Karplusan Forest so that I have access to green. Although I have it with Spara's headquarters anyway. I could have played the swamp. There's a Raffine, so I'm just going to Herd Migration in response. With the swamp, I would like a mountain. And now I can Leyline Binding this now and pay the ward cost. Absolutely not. But it answers the question with regards to what we're up against. And then next turn I have a swamp so that we have full domain, which means not only can I play Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but I will also have a Leyline Binding as backup. If they want to make disappear this, that's fine. I am not going to argue with them. We'll end the turn. I have plenty more where that came from. Now, the question I've got to ask myself is, will this deck play Fur well? And given that there is a Raffine, I think the answer is no. I'm happy to let them Leyline Binding this. No worries, down to 21. But my Leyline Binding is going to be better than their Leyline Bindings, so I'm not really bothered. Because this deck plays counter spells, I am just going to play my second Leyline Binding now and get rid of this Raffine. Yeah, we'll tap the red and pay. And then pass the turn. I have access to Herd Migration so that we can get another basic land. Remember, I am playing Drag to the Bottom, so these Spirited Companions, they'll be hitting me for 2, 3 at a time. And also remember, it's an ability. I have Ertai Resurrected, so that we can get rid of that wedding announcement. Okay, at the end of the turn, I am going to play this Herd Migration. I have access to full domain, so at this point, it's what am I missing? And I think I'm missing a second black for my Sheoldred and Drag to the Bottom. So that's what I'm going to fetch. There's a Workshop Warchief. I have time, right? I could just play out both Fables. That would cause a lot of problems for my opponent. I only have access to 6 mana. That's the problem. So I think just for the sake of mana efficiency, that is what I'm going to do. I still have plenty of win conditions. By using both my Fables, I can basically guarantee that one sticks around, so that when this Workshop Warchief hits the field, I can start replicating it, creating more Workshop Warchiefs that will gain me lots of life, and also thanks to the sacrifice ability of the Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, it sacrifices itself, it becomes a 4/4. Okay, so we will be getting hit for 6 here. I have no plans of blocking anytime soon. But what I can do is I can destroy the Leyline Binding with my Ertai Resurrected. I have a better idea. Now that I've drawn that drag to the bottom, I will submit 0. I will submit 0. I can now drag to the bottom, which gets back my Leyline Binding, and I can exile now the wedding announcement. So go to combat, attack, and now drag to the bottom will be -6, -6. Get back my Leyline Binding, say goodbye to the wedding announcement, and we will end the turn. And now if they try to play something, I have Ertai Resurrected. Sure, they get to draw a card, but now I am going to begin hitting for 3 every turn. And I'm actually just going to attack for 3 here. And play the... Do I play the Jetmir Garden? I probably will. Because if we do draw a 3rd Herd Migration, I can start using it. And now my Workshop Warchief will begin to do a lot of work. And the best thing is that if we can bring this back with the Blitz... What are they going to bring back? They're not going to bring back anything, but they're having to pay a lot for that Leyline Binding. Oh, could you imagine? We use Karmywar. I'm gonna use Workshop Warchief though, so that if they have Make Disappear, I can still pay for it. Whereas if I use Karmywar, they can use Make Disappear, or Negate is also a common spell that this kind of deck would run. They do. I'm going to pay for that. I don't think I mind. We'll attack with both. They don't have Wandering Emperor, and if they do, they can just get rid of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, and I will peel off the Karmywar. If they play another Leyline Binding, sucks to be them, I have another Karmywar. Not really how you want to be doing this, but I guess that's the game they're choosing to play. And now I can play Karmywar, return, exile this Leyline Binding, and end the turn. I want to keep this forest in my hand so that I have something to discard to the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker's 2nd chapter. Now, bad news for my opponent is that I can return the Intrepid Adversary to their hand and then force them to discard it. I could have also returned the Leyline Binding, but I think we've done enough damage in that regard. We'll go to combat. We'll attack with everything. I could have also returned the Ertai Resurrected. There's lots of things I could have done. In fact, given that the opponent might play Farewell, it might have been correct to return the Ertai Resurrected. But then my opponent still has a 4-2 and a 2-2 in play. So probably not correct. Do I need to play anything else at this stage? The answer's no. Even because they have one card, and if it's a farewell, I insta-lose. So I'm just going to end the turn. There's an Otawara storing city. Okay. You know I can just flash this back in, right? That's the thing I can do. Yeah, opponent didn't think that through. Ow. So I'm not going to be able to show off the Kami War's other side, also known as Okagachi Made Manifest. I got that right first time, actually. Excellent. We'll attack with everything and put our opponent out of their misery. Thanks for playing. Okay, this is an awful hand. It's a straight mulligan. Do not keep this hand. This hand's not much better, but I am going to keep it. We have access to all our favourite things. I am going to put the Kami War on the bottom. We have plenty more expensive things we can draw. Mono red. Mono red. Okay. We'll end the turn. Let's see what they play on turn 2. There is an argument that you Tear Asunder the commander faces Kakuzan. But I think that the Mechanized Warfare is far more problematic and is a much more deserving target of my ire. I'm going to fetch a Swamp so that if we do draw the... If we do draw the Drag to the bottom, we can play it. Well, good news, everyone, is that we've made it to our opponent's turn 3, and we're still on 20. There's Mechanized Warfare. No blocks. Go to 14. There's Ertai Resurrected. I will send the... Do I just get rid of Raffine's Tower and Ertai Resurrected? Because Workshop Warchief's doing far more for me. But Ertai Resurrected's such a blowout. But I'm about to get access to 5 mana, which means I can play Workshop Warchief. But Tear Asunder's far more tempting. It's not an easy decision. I will get rid of Ertai. Double Leyline Binding, nice. We'll attack. Down to 18. We'll end the turn. Oh no, should I just play the Workshop Warchief? No, let's save the Workshop Warchief. I have so much removal in my hand. There's a backup Mechanized Warfare. I'm going to Tear Asunder this Mechanized Warfare. I'm going to Leyline Binding the other. Go down to 9. There's a Llanowar Loamspeaker. I'm gonna play it. I have a third Leyline Binding if necessary. I'm not going to attack with my Goblin token this time. I'll end the turn. Could really do with the Reflection of Kiki-Jiki surviving. Block here. I'm actually just going to Leyline Binding the Phoenix chick. See what they want to do now. Perfect. Do you have 8 points worth of damage? You do not, and therefore the Workshop Warchief and Reflection of Kiki-Jiki does its job, and I I finally rank up to Diamond. Yeah, I had fun. Of course I had fun. Opponent goes first. It's not the fastest hand in the world, but it does give us access to a slightly earlier than normal Carnivore. Because it's slow, there is every possibility that we are able to take advantage of Celestus's whenever day becomes night mechanic. I'm not convinced, so I'm going to mulligan. This is passable. I'll send an Overgrown Farmland. Yeah, we'll send an Overgrown Farmland to the bottom. Actually, no. Given this hand, we need double green. Because I am going to regret that decision. But Cave of Koilos it is. Because I have a lot of things that cost 4 mana and require double black. But I can't really make a decision based on that because I have a double green. And I want both a forest. And I have both a forest and an Overgrown Farmland, so I can actually cast the Workshop Warchief. Okay, we'll play the forest. This could be that Gruul aggro deck I've heard about, or Gruul artifacts. But either way, this is not the fastest first couple of turns. We could see a Lightning Strike hitting this Llanowar Loamspeaker, but as far as I'm concerned, as long as it's not hitting our face, we're okay. Wow. Who saw that one coming? Alright. We're going to play this second Llanowar Loamspeaker and the Ziatora's Playground. Which means we've hit 4 of our 5 domain. We're just waiting now for a plains. And if our opponent can't deal with the Llanowar Loamspeaker, we can just play the Workshop Warchief next turn. Okay, opponent did tap out. So I can do this fairly safely. Down to 15. So I am just going to play this out. And gain some life back. Helena and Elena would be a slight problem. There's a second Reckless Stormseeker instead. So I am going to choose to get rid of the Reckless Stormseeker and take 3, put me down to 15, and I'll get a 4/4 token. Thank you. I'm going to choose again not to attack here and simply pass the turn. There's an Overworld Oddity. We can Tear Asunder it, you know. But I think instead I'm simply going to play this Ertai Resurrected and counter it. So now, even if my opponent plays a second spell, the Reckless Stormseeker will flip back over, and I have access to Tear Asunder next turn. I'm also 1 mana away from playing my Herd Migration. I'm going to go down to 11. Cool. I am going to attack for 4. Opponent probably will want to block here. Depends what's in their hand, of course. And now, don't mind me just making some 3/3 beasts. The only way my opponent can win from here is with Brotherhood's End, and if they play Brotherhood's End or Burning Down the House, they're doing something very wrong. I also have this Tear Asunder. Yeah, that's okay. I'll go down to 6. 3, 15, 8. They can stop to 18, 12. Make something a 3/3. 15, 18, 22. If they block 7. What if I just Tear Asunder something here? Tear Asunder this. Everything attacks. Not today. Opponent going first. We have the the Herd Migration, the Fable, and the Celestus. We have 4 lands as well, so at least we have access to red to play the Fable. This is not a guaranteed keep. If our opponent has a very quick start, we're probably losing. Depends entirely on how the first few turns go. Now, we could play the Raffine's Tower on 2 to hit our full domain, and actually, I think that's what we're doing. There is also an argument that we can use the Herd Migration to gain 3 life and search for a basic land. That is also something we can do. However, I think if we can have full domain by turn 3, so that we have access so we can play Shadow Prophecy, I think that's the correct play. So we'll go to 17 here. We keep Herd Migration in our hand. There's a Gix. Yeah, our opponent's off to a very fast start. No drag to the bottom is unfortunate. Celestus doesn't really do much for us at the moment. So I think that the other option is that we play Fable and hope that the Fable survives. But if our opponent plays Sheoldred, we're basically in a lot of trouble. We have access to full domain, so a drag to the bottom here would devastate our opponent. So I am just going to play the Deathcap Glade and pass. And we will play the Shadow Prophecy. Yeah, there's Mishra. And hopefully we can blow our opponent out. Going down to 9. Yeah, we'll play the Shadow Prophecy now. We'll end up going to 7. We wanted drag to the bottom, and none of those were drag to the bottom. I think we are legitimately just dead. Yeah, this is the problem with the deck, is that sometimes fast starts just completely obliterate us. I mean, Celestus plus Herd Migration, we're taking 9, so Celestus doesn't do it. I think, yeah, double Herd Migration might just be the way to go. We need to discard down to 7 as well. We are not going to use Jetmir's Garden anytime soon. Okay, before we go to combat, I think we do just need to Leyline Binding this Mishra now. And also play the Herd Migration. Thin our deck out. We'll fetch a Forest. We have access to double white, so we don't need to worry too much. Down to 2. So of course our opponent had backup Mishra because I forgot to do it. No, I did do it right. It's got to be before they go to combat. That's not going to do it. Yeah. So even though we did it before they went to combat, the fact that because I played something at the end of their main phase 1 means they get priority again, they just get to play back up Mishra. The deck's super fast, there was nothing I could do. Going first, we'll keep this hand. Because we're on the play, we can get away with a slightly more risky hand because we have access to Herd Migration and we do play quite a few lands, so... Even though it's double Ziatora's proving ground, I don't think that's too much of a problem. Blast Zone. We could be up against blue-white control. I'm going to gain some life here. I'm going to fetch myself a Plains. Next turn, I can play Celestus. I can also play the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, drag to the bottom. I will play Fable. Looks like it is a control matchup, so I want to put my opponent under some form of pressure. There's Dissipate. That's okay. There we go. I'm going to play a second Fable. That one sticks. Unfortunately, we don't have access to a We don't have access to a blue mana source yet, so we just need to bear that in mind. Don't think Drag to the Bottom is doing us any favors, and I don't think this Kami War is going to win us the game. So I am going to discard those two. Well, we got a second Kami War. Okay, and now I am going to play out the Workshop Warchief. Our opponent could have Make Disappear, but let's see what they want to do. Gonna gain some life. They're also trying to jack up this Blast Zone to get rid of the Fable. But the thing is that if they do try and use the Blast Zone, then it will kill their Celestus too. I have a Leyline Binding for that Teferi. Good news, everyone. I also have the Kami War, which I think is far more threatening. I mean, if they have Spell Pierce, then they have Spell Pierce, you know? I could play this Kami War, thanks to the treasure token. Bye-bye Teferi. And the really bad thing for my opponent is that I can start copying Workshop Warchief next turn. But no. No fun allowed. So we will play the Celestus of our own. And Llanowar Loamspeaker. Now, the thing is that we have to assume our opponent's not playing 4 Farewell. They're probably running 2 or 3. So the fact that they got 1 is super unfortunate. But, you know, it's okay. Yeah. I'm just going to end the turn. We'll draw. I'll get rid of the Llanowar Loamspeaker. I am looking for one thing and one thing only. Okay. Union of the Third Path. 16. I'm still not really panicking here, so I'm going to end the turn. There's another Teferi. In that case, I am just going to Leyline Binding it. He wants to soul partition his own Teferi. Okay. That means I can get Herd Migration off, no problem. Yeah, my turn. Opponent's going to get to do some card filtering, as am I. Yeah. Cool. And one of two things happens. This either works or it doesn't. Opponent could have Depopulate, opponent could have Farewell. Okay. Yeah, I think I see what's happening here. Think a Brotherhood's End's coming. Uh-huh. So I'm going to do this now. Okay. I'm going going to attack everyone at my opponent. I'm going to play Sheoldred. I can make it nighttime so that they can choose whether or not they want to draw a card, right? Yeah. So here's the deck in full. Let's go through it. Llanowar Loamspeaker is just one of the only ramp cards in the format. We play quite a lot of expensive things, so it's a must-have. You've got to have 4. We run a single copy of Tear Asunder. It's a nice situational removal spell. And as you saw in the game against Mono Red, really good at taking out things like Mechanized Warfare. We already run lots of spot removal in the form of Leyline Binding and the Kami War, so we don't really need to play more than one, but I still really like it. A single Reckoner Bankbuster. It's the 60th card in the deck, really. There's obviously the Sheoldred you can see here, but the 2 of these come together so rarely that it's not really worth noting. We do run a single copy of Shadow Prophecy. There's definitely an argument to run more copies of this in the deck. We come up against aggro decks a lot of the time, and 2 life in this format is a lot. It's one of the main reasons why I prefer playing Go for the Throw over Infernal Grasp. That 2 life does mean a lot, and you don't always get Domain by turn 3. So you won't get the full benefit out of it, but it's still situationally and in control matchups, it's a really good card, so I've got a singleton in there. Fable is Fable. You saw some disgusting combinations with Workshop Warchief, and that's actually the main reason why Workshop Warchief is in the deck, is because it's between this and Titan of Industry, but I go with this because Workshop Warchief costs 5. So you can play Fable, go through the 3 sagas, and get your Workshop Warchief down. Reflections pops over, and then you can start duplicating your Workshop Warchief and making your opponents miserable. Celestus is just a ramp spell that occasionally will let us draw cards. Now, the deck that I took inspiration from did not play drag to the bottom. I 100% believe that's a mistake. You are currently in a format full of mono red, full of Azuria soldiers, full of mono black, full of creature heavy decks, Celestial enchantments, Gruul. You've got to play drag to the bottom. 3 minimum. There is even an argument to play 4. Sheoldred is one of the best 4-drops in Standard at the moment. This is one of those rare instances where perhaps instead of playing Sheoldred, you can play a second Ertai and a 4th drag. Like, that's definitely an option. Then in the 5-drops, you've got Owl the Dawn Sky, excellent card, but there's only room really for 1 of it in the deck because everything else is so dang expensive. We've gone through Workshop Warchief, it's just a great finisher. Herd Migration is a nice little life gain spell, helps with your mana fixing, getting your domain out. Having 2 blackout by turn 4 is vital in most cases, so you can play a drag to the bottom. The Kami War it's a lot. It costs 6. You need one of your ramp spells to survive in order to make it worth it. You play 10 of them, the Loamspeaker, the Fable with the Goblin that makes treasure tokens, and Celestus. But if you can get Kami War out early, it's a ridiculously powerful card. Even the Exile permanently effect is great. But all 3 chapters do something ridiculous. It's a shame I didn't get to show off the actual creature and what it can do, but it has won me games. Then finally, Leyline Binding is the MVP of the deck. We play every basic you can think of. We play every triumph you can think of. Even costing 3, the fact it can flash is incredible. Bear in mind that it does say non-land permanent and opponent controls, not one that you control. So you can't do any cute tricks if your opponent plays Farewell, for example. I did that once, got blown out, and I never did it again. And then for the lands, because we play Herd Migration, we do need to play 1 of every basic. There's some Triumph lands that we spoke about. The Xander's Lounge is only a 1-of, and I think that's about right. The only cards that play blue are Ertai and the Kami War, and we've already got Spara's headquarters for that. I guess you could consider going down to 1 Spara to play a 4th one of either Raffine, Ziatora, or Jetmir. Your mileage may vary, but I think those combinations are good as is. These lands, I think you can sort of mess around with. I think the color combinations are correct, but it's about whether you want to, say, for example, play a Shattered Sanctum in the Caves of Koilos as opposed to 2 Caves of Koilos. I personally think that having access to white mana early in order to play the Leyline Binding is super crucial, but it's not necessary. Same with Karplusan Forest and Yavimaya Coast. The fact you get access to green straight away, so you can play your Llanowar Loamspeakers or Fable of the Mirrorbreaker is good, but maybe because we don't need to worry about an untapped red source until turn 3, you can replace this with the red-green slowland equivalent, whose name escapes me right now. Any other cards I'd consider, maybe Titan of Industry. It's a bit slow, but you could maybe split between Workshop Warchief and Titan of Industry. That's definitely an option. I will see you on Thursday for some more Magic the Gathering action. If you can't wait till then, I did do a Dimir Draw 2 deck the other day that I think you'll be very interested in. Go check that out. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Bye-bye!